The global trade landscape was jolted on February 10, 2025, as President Trump announced the imposition of 25% tariffs on all steel and aluminum imports. This decision, effective immediately, reversed previous exemptions granted to certain countries, including Australia. The move has reignited trade tensions, particularly with key allies Canada and the European Union. Many countries rely on the United States as a primary export market for steel and aluminum. The tariffs threaten to disrupt established supply chains and increase costs for businesses and consumers alike. Industries that rely on steel and aluminum as inputs, such as construction and manufacturing, are bracing for price hikes. The Trump administration argues that these tariffs are necessary to protect American jobs and industries from unfair foreign competition. Canada, a major supplier of steel and aluminum to the United States, has expressed strong disapproval of the tariffs. Innovation Minister François-Philippe Champagne condemned the measures as totally unjustified, emphasizing the integrated nature of the U.S. and Canadian economies. He highlighted the role of Canadian steel and aluminum in supporting key U.S. industries, including defense. The Canadian government is actively exploring retaliatory measures to protect its interests. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has stated that Canada will respond firmly and proportionally to defend its workers and industries. The government has indicated that it is considering tariffs on a range of U.S. goods, targeting sectors that would exert economic pressure. Canadian businesses and industry groups have expressed deep concern over the tariffs, fearing job losses and economic disruption. The Canadian Steel Producers Association has called for swift and decisive action from the government to mitigate the impact of the tariffs. They argue that the tariffs are unwarranted and will harm both Canadian and American businesses. The imposition of tariffs by the United States has strained relations between the two countries. The tariffs have raised concerns about the future of the North American Free Trade Agreement, NAFTA, and the broader relationship between the two countries. The European Union has also condemned the U.S. tariffs, vowing to take action to defend its interests. French Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot characterized the tariffs as unacceptable and contrary to World Trade Organization (WTO) rules. He emphasized that the EU would respond in a firm and united manner to protect its industries and workers. The European Commission is currently assessing the potential impact of the tariffs on specific sectors of the EU economy. It is expected to announce retaliatory measures targeting a range of U.S. goods, carefully chosen to exert leverage and discourage further protectionist actions. The EU's response is likely to be coordinated with other affected trading partners. The EU's Trade Commissioner has stated that the bloc is prepared to impose tariffs on up to €2.8 billion worth of U.S. goods. The list of targeted products could include iconic American brands, agricultural products, and industrial goods. The EU is also considering filing a complaint with the World Trade Organization, WTO, challenging the legality of the U.S. tariffs. The tariffs have further strained transatlantic relations, which have been tested in recent years by disagreements over trade, climate change, and other issues. The EU views the tariffs as a threat to the rules-based international trading system, which it sees as essential for global economic stability and prosperity. The imposition of tariffs by the United States on its closest allies has raised concerns about the future of the transatlantic alliance. This alliance, forged in the aftermath of World War II, has been a cornerstone of global security and prosperity for decades. However, the current trade dispute threatens to undermine trust and cooperation between the United States and its European and North American partners. The United States, under the Trump administration, has pursued a more unilateralist approach to trade, prioritizing its own economic interests over those of its allies. This approach has been met with resistance from the EU and Canada, which advocate for a rules-based multilateral trading system. Public opinion polls have shown a decline in trust in the United States as a reliable partner. The coming weeks will be crucial in determining the future trajectory of the transatlantic alliance. If all sides are willing to engage in dialogue and compromise, there is still hope for a negotiated solution that preserves the vital transatlantic partnership. The current trade tensions between the United States and its allies are not unprecedented. The United States has a long history of imposing tariffs and other trade barriers, often in pursuit of domestic economic goals. In the 1980s, for example, the United States imposed quotas on Japanese automobile imports, citing concerns about the U.S. trade deficit with Japan. In 2002, the Bush administration imposed tariffs on steel imports from several countries, including EU members. These tariffs were later ruled illegal by the World Trade Organization, and the United States was forced to remove them. The tariffs led to retaliatory measures from the EU and other affected countries, highlighting the risks of protectionist policies. In 2018, the Trump administration imposed tariffs on steel and aluminum imports from several countries, including Canada, Mexico, and the EU. These tariffs, justified on national security grounds, were met with retaliatory measures from the affected countries. The historical record suggests that tariffs are often counterproductive, leading to higher prices for consumers, retaliation from trading partners, and damage to the global trading system. The Trump administration's tariffs on steel and aluminum imports have caused confusion and concern among analysts. The administration cites national security, but many believe domestic politics and reducing the trade deficit are key factors. Analysts think the tariffs aim to appeal to Trump's base, especially blue-collar workers in Rust Belt states. Trump portrays himself as a tough negotiator, seeking support from these voters. Others see the tariffs as part of a strategy to renegotiate unfavorable trade deals. The administration criticizes multilateral trade agreements like NAFTA and the WTO. Trump has criticized China for unfair trade practices and intellectual property theft. The tariffs could pressure China to make trade concessions. While the Trump administration defends the tariffs to protect American jobs and industries, many economists and trade experts question their effectiveness and warn of unintended consequences. They argue that tariffs will raise prices for consumers, harm businesses relying on imported steel and aluminum, and invite retaliation from trading partners. Douglas Irwin, a trade economist, argues the tariffs won't achieve their goals. He points out that the U.S. steel and aluminum industries are already protected, and tariffs benefit few producers at the expense of consumers and businesses. Stephen Moore, a conservative economist, also doubts the tariffs' effectiveness. While he supports reducing the trade deficit, he believes tariffs will harm the economy. He argues they will raise prices, reduce investment, and lead to job losses in industries relying on imports. Business groups, including the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and the National Association of Manufacturers, argue tariffs will increase costs for American businesses, making them less competitive globally. The full impact of the Trump administration's tariffs on steel and aluminum imports remains to be seen. However, it is clear that the tariffs will have significant consequences for the global economy, U.S. businesses and consumers, and international relations. One of the most immediate impacts of the tariffs will be higher prices for steel and aluminum products. These price increases will be felt by businesses that use these metals as inputs, as well as by consumers who purchase goods made with these materials. The tariffs could also lead to shortages of certain products, as domestic producers struggle to meet increased demand. The tariffs are also likely to disrupt global supply chains, as businesses adjust to the new trade environment. Companies that rely on imported steel and aluminum may have to find new suppliers or relocate their operations. These disruptions could lead to higher costs, delays, and reduced efficiency. The tariffs have already strained relations between the United States and its key trading partners, including Canada, Mexico, and the European Union. These countries have all condemned the tariffs and vowed to retaliate with their own tariffs on U.S. goods. The tariffs could escalate into a full-blown trade war with negative consequences for the global economy. The imposition of tariffs on steel and aluminum imports has created a climate of uncertainty and unease in the global trading system. Businesses are grappling with the implications of higher costs and potential disruptions to supply chains. Governments are weighing their options, seeking to protect their own interests while avoiding a damaging trade war. The coming weeks and months will be critical in determining the course of this trade dispute. The Trump administration has indicated a willingness to negotiate with trading partners, but it remains unclear whether these negotiations will lead to a resolution that satisfies all sides. The EU and Canada have expressed a desire to avoid a trade war, but have also made it clear that they will not hesitate to retaliate if necessary. The path forward will require a delicate balance of firmness and diplomacy. The United States must recognize the legitimate concerns of its trading partners and be willing to engage in good faith negotiations. A negotiated solution would preserve the benefits of trade, strengthen the international order, and demonstrate the enduring strength of the transatlantic partnership.